is my secret ingredient, along with some cinnamon that I love in absolutely everything, a tiny bit of salt, and vanilla powder, which is optional, but I highly recommend it. For the bananas, you're gonna make sure that they're really ripe and spotted, and the darker they are, the sweeter the pancakes are gonna be. So don't try and make them if they're not ripe, because it will not turn out the same way. For every banana that you use, you want to use 2 eggs, and this is basically enough for 1 person. So just add up depending on how hungry you are, and add all the spices, as much cinnamon as you care for. Be careful with the cardamom because not everyone likes it, and just half a teaspoon would be enough. Sea salt, just a tiny bit, and vanilla, I sometimes add a little more than what I probably need, but I love it. I can't get enough. And my trick is to blend it all and then add the arrowroot. This way you kind of avoid all the flour sticking to the sides, but you could just add it all at once and blend it up, but this is how I like to do it. And that's basically it. Move over to the hot pan. Today I'm cooking my pancakes in duck fat just because that's what JP had in the house and I kind of like the taste of it. And I've been told that this step is actually a lot harder than it looks, but you just want to make sure that you start out with a hot pan and add just enough to cover the entire pan, and then you want to wait for the bubbles to appear, and that's when you know that it's time to flip it. And you can also see that they start to get dark right around the edges, and this is another sign that they're ready. You kind of have to tilt the pan. I'm not sure how to explain it, but I think you'll get a hang of it. And if you don't have enough arrowroot in there, they could be slightly harder to flip. So also be careful not to add too much arrowroot or they will just be hard. But I'm sure you'll get the hang of it once you try it a few times. And I add this berry jam once I'm done that I make myself with no sugar, no nasty preservatives, no nothing. And the coconut ice cream that I've also talked about in my blog, I don't like it by itself, but in these pancakes, they are, I mean, it's the best. And I finish it with my latest obsession, brown rice syrup. And if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. So to make another 3-ingredient recipe, all you'll need is 2 types of berries. I usually go for strawberries and raspberries, but they didn't have organic strawberries, so I went for blackberries. You want to make sure that they're completely defrosted. That makes sure they have a nice and juicy consistency. Pour them in the blender and just finely blend them. I like chunks so I don't overdo it. Then you want to grab your arrowroot once again, and you just want to take 1 teaspoon and add it in a small glass with a little bit of water. And this is basically just to thicken up the consistency. Then you want to grab a pot, turn on your stove, and basically just pour in the berry mixture and just lightly heat it up. You don't need to bring it to a boil, but just a low simmer. And once it simmers, you want to add the arrowroot and just keep stirring so you don't get any chunks. It will turn slightly white once you add it, but just boil it long enough for the white color to disappear. It will go back to normal. Pour it in the jar and let it cool off, and then you're good to go. So that was 2 simple and healthy 3-ingredient recipes for you, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Like it, share it. Pancakes doesn't have to be a guilty treat that you only enjoy once in a while. Like I said,
of lean minced beef. Need 1.5 tins of tuna. You got your mushrooms, which we're going to use to sandwich the burgers together. 2 chopped sun-dried tomatoes, 1/4 of a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt, 3 eggs, 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper, small handful of chopped coriander, small handful of chopped parsley, 3 crushed garlic cloves. You need 1/4 of a pepper finely chopped, 2 finely chopped hot chilies. You need some finely chopped fresh ginger root, and you need about 1/4 of a medium leek finely chopped. Right, first thing you do is you need to squeeze all the juice out of the tuna as much as possible. The best way to do this is just use your hands. So just squeeze out as much as you can. And so pop that in the bowl. Now you want to add in your beef and just mix these both together first. It's best using your hands. Just crumble them together like you would if you were making pastry. Then put in your salt, put in your black pepper, Just give that a mix around quickly. Right, just lob in the rest of your ingredients apart from your eggs. Make sure the peppers are finely chopped and the chilies, the fresh ginger, the leek, the sun-dried tomatoes, coriander and the parsley. Right, so make sure you thoroughly mix this. Again, just get your hands in there. Just don't go rubbing your eyes after this, the chili would burn your eyes out. So you want to get your 3 eggs and beat them well and just put those in. And give that a nice mix again. Oh, the smell of this is absolutely lovely. Right, so that's done. We can start shaping them now. Now you can either shape the burgers with your hands, or if you've got a burger press, even better. With this, what I do, I cut out a piece of baking paper or greaseproof paper and put it on the bottom, and then put one on the top as well. This just stops it from sticking to the top and bottom, and they're easier to get out. How this works is you fill the bottom and then you grab your top, you put it in and you squeeze down. And that should come out like so. And that's your lovely burger done. Lovely, so that's one. Right, so this recipe makes about 8 good sized burgers, or you can make about 16 mini burgers. Right, so in a pan you just want to melt some ghee butter or coconut oil, sunflower oil, whatever oil you want to use. Make sure you put plenty in because those mushrooms are just going to soak it up. Right, so first of all we're just going to chuck in our portobello mushrooms. Give them a good sprinkle of salt. And just let them cook slowly. Right, so just cover that for about 5 minutes because we want the mushrooms just to sweat a bit. Right, so now we just add in our burger. We cook the mushrooms and the burgers together because we want the mushrooms to really soak up those lovely meat juices. Oh, that's smelling gorgeous. All the meat juices and the garlic juices and the pepper juices and the chili juices are coming out, and the mushrooms are just soaking it up. So not only have you got a lovely tasting burger, the mushrooms are just going to be juicy and flavoursome. Now I like a bit of fried onion on my burger, so I'm just going to chuck a bit in. Right then, that looks done to me, so we can start making our burgers now. Now with the mushrooms, what you want to do is just turn them over and just rub them in all that juice. We really want it to soak up all that lovely juices that's come from the burger, the onions, the garlic, the lot. Oh, that looks lovely. Yummy. So now you want to get your mushrooms and just spread on a bit of English mustard or Dijon mustard, or mayo if you want. You can put whatever on, but I just love a little bit of mustard. Ooh, give it a bit of a kick. Chuck your burger on, chuck your onions, and on goes your other mushroom.
Small pieces, basically as small as I can without burning them when I put them in the oven, you know? I put these onto a baking tray with some baking paper and then just put those in the oven like so to bake for about 30 minutes. Once they were done, I put them into a bowl with half of a can of black beans. I then added in some Himalayan pink salt, paprika and garlic powder, and then I mixed this all together. Once it was all done, I fried it up into a pan, and then I started with some blue corn chips into a bowl with this vegan cheese by Demona. This is brie cheese. Not sure if you typically put it on nachos, but I was just rolling with it today. I then added on the sweet potato and black beans and baked it in the oven. Once it was done, I added some coriander as well as some fresh avocado. I love avocado, and then added on some lime as well as some sesame seeds. And that is my dinner done.
On the go. So you want 1 tablespoon, which is about 10 grams of yeast. Now from the sugar that you've weighed out, just take 1 tablespoon of that and add it to the yeast. It's 54 grams of sugar in here, by the way. Now you want your milk to be nice and warm, so I've taken this out of the fridge and I've put it in the microwave for 1.5 minutes on full power, and that seems to be the good temperature for this mixture. So I'm just going to pour this on. So give it a little stir, set that aside on your counter, and you start noticing it frothing up like mad now. Now with the rest of the sugar, I've put in a blender and I've blitzed it up into a fine dust. This just makes the sugar much lighter. So we're trying to get the mixture as light as possible because at the end of the day, we want cinnamon buns, not rock cakes. Now in a bowl, you want to melt 28 grams of ghee butter. Add in 1 egg yolk. Doesn't want to come out. There you go. Add in the sugar. Add in 54 millilitres of olive oil. It's about 1/4 of a cup. Tablespoon of vanilla bean paste. If you're going to use extract or essence, use a bit more. I'd say use 2 teaspoons. Now just whisk all that together. Right, let's put that to the side a sec. Now you need 276 grams of your gluten-free flour. Add in 2.5 teaspoons of xanthan gum. 2.5. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 1/2 teaspoon of bicarb. 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar. 1/2 teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt. Just mix that around. I've used Dove's Farm gluten-free white bread flour. I just find it works better than all the other gluten-free flours. Now you want to get an oven-proof dish and put boiling water into it. You want to put this at the bottom of the oven just so it keeps the oven nice and humid, so you got that nice perfect environment for the buns to cook in. Now if you take a look at your yeast mixture now that looks like something from Alien. That is crazy. That is frothed up massively. Now if it hasn't frothed up, then scrap it and start again because the yeast is either dead or the milk is too warm or too cold, okay? So make sure it's kind of looking like that. Now you're going to add this yeast into the bowl. Make sure you get it all in. As I give that a stir, make sure it's all combined nicely. You just know when the yeast has risen that good, your buns are just going to rise amazingly. That's a good thing about putting a tablespoon of sugar in with the yeast. Yeast loves sugar. You'll just eat it up and froth up. Now sieve in your flour mixture. Give that a stir around. Now give that a good mix before you add your egg white, because I don't want to over mix the egg white. Now add in your egg white. And just fold that in. You want to try and keep the dough as light as possible. Even though we're going to be rolling it out, it just creates some lightness to it. And get some greaseproof paper and dust the surface well. So I'm just going to plop this out onto the greaseproof paper. I'm going to just shape this into a rectangle first. So just dust the top of this with a bit more flour. So get another bit of greaseproof paper and just dust this as well. So I'm going to put this on top and we're going to roll it out gently. Try and keep it into a rectangle shape as much as possible. Every now and again, just take this off and put it back on again, okay? Just so it doesn't stick. So just roll it up to about just under a 1/2 centimetre thick. Right, so that's done. So get 2 tablespoons of melted ghee butter and we're just going to brush the surface slightly. So to make the filling you need 85 grams of light brown sugar and 2.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. Now you want to scatter your sugar mix over. So I'm just going to grab one end and start to roll it. Now I'm not going to push down at all, I'm just going to let it roll itself. What I don't want to do is squash it at all, I want to keep the air in it. Okay, that's lovely. Now I'm just going to cut the ends off these. So I'm going to cut this into about 7 pieces. Just do it softly, don't push down on the rolls at all. Use a serrated knife. Now you want to get an 8-inch pan and line it with some baking paper. And we're just going to put these in slowly. So as you can see, I've left about just under 1/2 inch gap between them all, so it gives them room to expand. But also I've rolled them lightly. As you can see, they're loosely rolled. I want them to be able to expand in the middle, see. so we don't get that uncooked middle or dry middle. Now you want to cover these with cling film or towel. Now you want to put these next to a radiator or in an airing cupboard or somewhere warm to leave them rise for 1 hour. Right then, these have been rising for about an hour. Now hopefully they've doubled in size, so let's take a look. Ba-da! Ooh! Now that looks good to me, okay? That looks awesome. Now ideally you want to leave these overnight just to rise a bit more. That's what I tend to do. But you can cook them now. So you want to cook them at 200 Celsius for 30 minutes. But for the first 13 minutes you need to cover them with foil. It's just to stop them from browning too much. Woohoo! They're done. Now they look absolutely Moorish. Look at that. They look cracking. Now if you notice when I squeeze them, they're still puffy, which means there's still a lot of air in them, which means they're nice and light and gorgeous, okay? Now, they haven't browned on top either, which is brilliant. But now we're going to start making the icing, and then I'm going to try them. So to make the icing, dead simple, just get 70 grams of powdered icing sugar. Just sieve that in, so we don't get any lumps. Tablespoon and a half of water, and half a teaspoon of vanilla bean paste. And just give that a mix around. So now we're just going to drizzle on our icing. Oh, yummy. And that'll do. I'm starting to salivate here, so I better start trying them. Not sure which one to try, maybe this one. Oh, look at that. Oh.